I'm Chase Sr. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles now, and we have some breaking news coming up here on the show as the Eagles have signed a pass rusher on the first day of training camp. That deep dive is coming up just around the corner, but look, this is why you subscribe to the channel, because when breaking news happens, I always have you covered. Your fearless leader, the host of Eagles Now. When the Eagles make a move, we break it down right here on the show, so be sure to lock us in and join the movement. So Tom Pelissero of the NFL Network with this tweet just moments ago on this Tuesday afternoon, July 22nd, the day that the Eagles have reported to the NovaCare Complex in South Philadelphia for the start of training camp. First practice will be tomorrow. Veteran defensive end Ogbo Okoronkow is signing with the Eagles. He has 17 career sacks, including 7.5 over the past 2 seasons with the Cleveland Browns. Last 2 years, he played under Jim Schwartz as the defensive coordinator for Cleveland, the former Eagles defensive coordinator who was the DC under Doug Peterson when the Eagles won Super Bowl 52 against the New England Patriots during the 2017 campaign. Pelissero adding, this is more depth for Philadelphia's fearsome front. Now, anytime a reporter throws out a tweet like this and they get some intel from an agent, I love how they sprinkle some fancy words. It is more depth for Philadelphia's fearsome front, but there are some questions along this defensive line for the Eagles and how they're going to generate a pass rush after Brandon Graham retired, Josh Sweat got a bag from the Arizona Cardinals, and Milton Williams got paid $26 million per year by the New England Patriots. Of course, the Eagles this offseason signed Azeez Ojulari, signed Josh Uche. They are banking on Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter taking big leaps in their development. They added Antoine Powell-Ryland in the 6th round of the NFL draft out of Virginia Tech. He's been one of the most productive pass rushers in college football the last couple of years. But the Eagles, they needed to add, in my opinion, another pass rusher. And this isn't a player who you can definitively say is not going to make the 53-man roster. He has been a productive player over the last couple of years in the NFL, playing for some really quality defenses, and he has been able to generate pressure on the quarterback, collapse the pocket, and give the defense some juice from that defensive end spot. Some background on the player here. 2018 fifth-round pick by the Los Angeles Rams. He played his college football at Oklahoma, has pretty good size at 6'2", 250. A lot of teams didn't know when he was coming out of college if he would be a good fit for a 3-4 because some teams didn't desire that type of size. He's played in a couple of different fronts, 4-3 and a 3-4. Obviously, with the Eagles, he gets added by Philadelphia, who under Vic Fangio run that 3-4, but Fangio does get a little bit hybrid. Sometimes they have 4 linemen up front. Sometimes it is that traditional 3-4. Usually pass rushers are pinning their ears back, getting after the quarterback. Sometimes edge rushers do have to drop back in coverage. And so we'll see how Okoronkwo fits as a scheme fit under Fangio. But back to his background here with the Rams from 2019 to 2021. Then he signed with the Houston Texans in 2022. That was probably the best year of his career, especially production-wise. And then he spent the last 2 years, as we mentioned, with the Cleveland Browns. Scouting him, coming out of Oklahoma, these were some of my notes. A solid-built player with good power. I like the power that he displayed at Oklahoma. He doesn't have a lot of bend to his game, but he can win with a strong lower half and being able to bulldoze offensive tackles. He gets off the ball pretty quickly, and he gets up the field with a lot of juice. I also like the instincts that he has as a pass rusher, and he can sometimes win with hesitation moves. He sees what the offensive lineman is doing, he has a plan, and he can kind of win with some hesitation alongside that power. He can also change pace pretty well, and he has good leg drive. So if you compare him to a Hassan Reddick, he's not that player who has that bend to get leverage like a Nolan Smith modern day for Philadelphia. He's more so of that pass rusher who's going to win with power, and he's pretty powerful for his size, hovering around that weight class that we noted. Pretty interesting background. He is the son of Nigerian immigrants, and Okoronkwo grew up in the Houston area, didn't have to go a long way to play his college ball, just went directly up through the state of Texas into Oklahoma to play in Norman. As a senior, he really burst onto the scene, got on a lot of NFL draft radars. He was the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. Of course, that was before Oklahoma made the switch and the transition to the SEC. And Okoronkwo, as a senior, had a monster season. 76 tackles, 17 and a half TFLs. That's the ability to play the run. 8 sacks, 2 pass breakups, and 3 forced fumbles. So he was a very disruptive player that year. He just took to Twitter to tweet out, "Go Birds." Eagles fans can certainly get behind that, and clearly his nickname, as we see, according to him, OBZ, Ogbo Okoronkow. Let's take a look at his career numbers here. So he gets drafted by the Rams. He's with Los Angeles for a few years. First year, he has 1.5 sacks. Year 2 has a sack. Year 3, he has 2 sacks. He was a member of that Super Bowl championship team for the Rams. Von Miller on that team, Aaron Donald on that team. For that Rams team led offensively by Matthew Stafford. That was the year that Cooper Kupp won the Triple Crown. Odell Beckham Jr. was also on that squad. He tore his ACL in the Super Bowl, but he played a big role in the Rams being able to lift up that Lombardi trophy. Not bad production with Los Angeles. You look at some of the TFL numbers, year 1, 1, year 2, 1, year 3, 3. But the quarterback hit numbers, not bad either. 4, 3, 6. I noted earlier, 2022, when he signed with Houston to play under DeMeco Ryans, a really good defensive mind, he played 17 games with 8 starts. Prior to that, he had not made a start at the NFL level. He got 8 starts there. I thought he took advantage of the opportunities. 2 pass breakups, he did a little bit of that at Oklahoma. The 1 forced fumble, he was disruptive in that regard when with the Sooners. But he had a career high that season of 5 sacks with 9 TFLs and 11 quarterback hits. And so Cleveland signs him going into his age 28 season, and they looked at him as a player who was progressing, developing on this ascent. He didn't become a starter for the most part with Cleveland, but did play a lot of ball. 14 games in 2023, 16 games with 5 starts. In 2024, he was more so used as a situational pass rusher. And as far as the production went, with limited snaps, not being an every down player, I didn't hate what he was able to do. 4.5 sacks in 2023, 3 sacks in 2024, 12 TFLs in 2023. That's a good number. Double digits for the first time in his career, with 5 TFLs in 2024. And then the quarterback hit numbers, 8 and 6. So again, I want to emphasize this is a player who has a shot to make this Eagles 53-man roster. Azeez Ojulari hurt a lot. Josh Uche hasn't been productive the last couple of years. Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, younger players. Antoine Powell-Ryland, he's a rookie. You don't know what you're going to get. The Eagles have elected to go with a lot of players at pass rusher instead of going for the big fish like a Trey Hendrickson or a Myles Garrett or a TJ Watt trade, and those players, you would have to pay them $40+ million. Okoronkwo in 2024, as far as his Pro Football Focus numbers, didn't grade out well. 45.3 on the overall PFF grade, a pass rush grade of 55.3, a run defense grade of 48.1. All of those numbers in the orange, in the yellow, meaning not good. But what you like to see in 275 pass rush snaps is him being productive as far as being disruptive. That's a word that comes to mind when I talk about Okoronkwo here. 24 pressures last year, 17 hurries, 14 stops. PFF doesn't count half sacks, so they gave him 3. So he did take advantage of the opportunities that he got for a Browns defense last year that wasn't the Browns defense that we saw in 2023, which was a top 5 overall unit, but they were still pretty solid, and they got absolutely no help from the offensive side of the football with all of the quarterback problems that the Browns had last year. I also think it's notable that Okoronkwo has been signed, picked up, and has played under 2 of the better defensive minds in all of football. DeMeco Ryans is one of the top defensive play callers in the National Football League. So too is Jim Schwartz. His defenses with the Browns have fared very well. Now, I might add that D'Amico and Jim Schwartz run 4-3s. They both run the wide 9. Vic Fangio isn't running the wide 9. And so, again, I want to see how Okoronkwo fits with the Eagles as a scheme fit. I looked at him as a good fit for the Niners because they're running that wide 9. I did not foresee him signing with Philadelphia. The current situation at edge rusher for the Birds, Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter are blossoming, developing young players who I think have borderline star potential. George Karlaftis just signed that deal with the Kansas City Chiefs. He's getting, I think, like $24, $25 million per year, somewhere in the mid-20s. If Nolan Smith is productive this year, that's the type of range that he could be in when he's extension eligible after this year. He went from 1 sack as a rookie to 6.5 in year 2. Can he continue on that growth? Let's hope so. The Eagles are banking on that. If they don't get it, it's definitely a concern and worrisome for the Eagles' pass rush plans. For Jalen Carter, he was awesome toward the end of the year. Even better throughout the playoffs. Was that a mirage, or is that a sign of things to come? We talked earlier about Uche Ojulari. I like the players, but they too are unknown commodities. And so the Eagles are going with a collection of players to generate a pass rush instead of the big fish in the pond, the splashy move. Also keep in mind, though, Eagles are factoring that at defensive tackle, they're very good generating a pass rush from the interior to muddy up the pocket right in that quarterback sight line. But this is something that we're going to continue to monitor throughout training camp, the preseason, and, of course, into the regular season. How can and do the Eagles generate that pass rush on the opposing quarterback to make that secondary's job a lot easier? So will Okoronkwo make the team? That is today's poll question. Share your thoughts with me down in the comments section. M for make, C for cut. Also, this deal, thanks to our friends at Fanatics, it's still alive. Eagles cutoff hoodie was $55, now on sale for just $33. They are flying off the shelves. Use that link down below, chatsports.com/Eagles cutoff. That will take you to Fanatics. And, of course, don't forget to give me a follow on social media. I'm always talking Eagles on X and Instagram. It's at Chase_Senior.